It started with laughter. That's what I always tell myself when I try to make sense of how it all fell apart. Not with a fight. Not with betrayal. Not even with tears. It started with laughter. Mine. Echoing through the car as we drove away. Leaving my husband standing alone on the side of Highway 99, 2 miles from home, his backpack slung over one shoulder like a forgotten suitcase. "Come on, Derek," I shouted through the open window, grinning. "You could use the walk." The doors locked with a soft click. Mason hit the gas. The tires crunched over gravel as we pulled away, leaving him behind in the dust. Lena, my younger sister, was filming from the back seat, phone held high. "This is gold," she giggled. "Boring husband challenge. It's going viral." I laughed harder. "He'll thank me later." A little humility never hurt anyone. Derek didn't wave, didn't shout, didn't even raise his hand. He just stood there, still, silent, like he already knew something I didn't, and maybe he did. By the time we got home, the video was online. Lena had edited it. Slow-mo of Derek trudging down the shoulder. Head down, hands in his pockets, the wind tugging at his jacket. Upbeat music played in the background. Text overlay, "When your husband takes life too seriously." Within 2 hours, it had 12,000 views. By midnight, over $200,000. People called him Mr. Spreadsheet, who even marries a man who folds his socks by color. She deserves better. I read every comment like they were love letters, because for the first time in years, I felt seen, not as Derek's wife, not as Nora's mom, but as me. Mira Walsh. Funny, fearless, alive. When Derek finally walked through the front door, 2 hours later, sweaty, shoes covered in road dust, I was still scrolling, laughing at a meme someone made of his face. "You're famous," I said, tossing my phone onto the couch. "Everyone's talking about you." He didn't answer. He walked past me, checked on Nora asleep on the couch, then went straight to the bedroom. I followed. "What's wrong with you?" It was a joke. A harmless prank. He sat on the edge of the bed, unlaced his shoes slowly. "You left me on the side of a highway," he said, voice flat. "With no phone, no ride. In the dark." "It wasn't dark," I snapped. "And you walked home, didn't you?" "You're fine." He looked at me then, not angry, not sad. Just disappointed, and that look cut deeper than any scream ever could. "I wasn't worried about me," he said quietly. "I was worried about Nora. What does it teach her when her mother laughs at her father?" I rolled my eyes. "Kids need to see adults having fun." "You're too serious, Derek." "Always have been." He didn't argue. He just stood, walked to the dresser, pulled out a small black notebook, and slipped it into his bag. I laughed. "Are you writing a diary now?" "What, are you going to write, 'Today Mira was mean again'?" He didn't smile, he just said, "I'm keeping track of things." Then he turned off the light and got into bed. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, convinced I was right, that I was the spark in a dull marriage, that I was saving us from boredom. But deep down, something twisted in my chest because for the first time I didn't feel powerful. I felt small, and I hated that feeling. So I doubled down, at work. I was the face of Willow Creek Veterinary Clinic, the warm voice on the phone, the smile at the front desk, the one who remembered every client's pet by name. And then Jace arrived, new vet tech, late 20s, confident, charismatic, the kind of man who walked into a room and owned it without trying. He leaned on the counter during slow hours. "You're too bright for this place," he'd say. "You should be running something." Or someone, I'd laugh, blush, flirt back. Harmless? I told myself, until it wasn't. One rainy Thursday, he offered me a ride home. "I'm not letting my favorite coworker drown," he said, holding up his umbrella. I said yes. When I got home, Derek was in the kitchen. "Jace's car was on the Ring camera," he said. Again, I shrugged. "So? He's being nice." "He's been nice every time it rains for the past 3 weeks." "And what? I should walk in the rain?" "You should set boundaries," he said calmly. I exploded. You're paranoid. Controlling. Why can't you just trust me? He didn't raise his voice. He just opened his notebook, wrote something, closed it, and walked away. That notebook became my obsession. Every night, he sat at the kitchen table writing. Not journaling. Not rants, just facts, dates, times, quotes. Once I snatched it when he was in the shower. Page after page of neat handwriting. April 3rd. Mira posted video of me walking home. Hey, 7K views. Nora asked why we left Daddy on the road. Mira said it was a game. April 5th. Jace dropped Mira off again. 7:12 p.m. Car idled 8 minutes. No visible interaction, but pattern established. April 7th. Mira laughed at dinner when Harlan mocked my routine. Nora pushed peas around plate. Did not eat. I threw the book down like it burned me, but the words stayed, because he wasn't exaggerating. He was just documenting, and that scared me more than lies ever could. My dad, Harlan, loved the video. At dinner one night, he slapped the table laughing. That's how you keep a man grounded. A little roast keeps him sharp. Mom, Claire frowned. Maybe we went too far. Nonsense, Harlan said. Derek needs to toughen up. Mira's a strong woman. He should be proud. I smiled, basking in it. But Nora sat quietly, coloring. Then she looked up. Daddy looked sad. It was a joke, sweetie, I said. A joke should be fun for everyone, she said softly. I forced a laugh. You're too serious, just like your dad. She didn't smile. She just went back to coloring. Later, I found the drawing me surrounded by friends. Laughing. Derek, small. In the corner. Alone. Labeled. Mommy's game. I tore it up. But I kept thinking about it. Jace and I grew closer. Late-night texts, inside jokes, a hand brushing mine as he passed me files. Once, at the clinic holiday party, he pulled me into a dance. The room clapped. Phones came out. Someone filmed. Derek stood at the edge, holding Nora's hand. I didn't stop. I leaned into Jace, threw my head back, laughed like I meant it. Later, Jace draped his jacket over my shoulders when we stepped outside. Don't want you catching a cold, he said. Close. I didn't pull away. When Derek came to get me, I was still wearing it. He looked at me. We can go now. Not yet, I said. He took Nora home. I stayed. By morning, the photo was everywhere. Me, glowing in Jace's jacket. Derek, absent. Nora, forgotten in the background. Lena posted it with the caption, Boss Energy. Harlan commented, My daughter knows how to shine. Claire said nothing. Vera, Derek's mom, texted him privately. Stay calm. Protect Nora. And Derek? He printed the photo, left it on the table, wrote one word across the bottom. Document Teddy screamed. You're obsessed. You're turning our life into a courtroom. He said nothing, just tucked it into his notebook. The cracks grew. Nora started asking questions. Why does Daddy write in his book? Why do you laugh with Jace but not with Daddy? Why did we leave Daddy on the road? I told her it was all a game, but games are supposed to be fun, and I wasn't having fun. I was desperate. Desperate. For attention, for validation, for proof that I was more than just someone's wife. And Jace gave me that until HR didn't. They called me in, Rhea. The compliance officer sat across from me. Calm, professional. We've received concerns about workplace conduct, she said. My stomach dropped. She opened a file, screenshots, timestamps. AM texts, 2:04 a.m. calls, photos. From the party. Do you understand? The policy on personal relationships between staff? She asked. He's my mentor, I said. We're just close. She didn't blink. You're being reassigned. New manager. No after-hours events. Mandatory ethics training. I wanted to cry. To scream. But all I could think was, Jace will fix this. I called him. He answered, voice tight. It's temporary. HR can't touch top performers. But he didn't sound sure, and for the first time I wondered if I'd bet on the wrong man. Then came the knock. Not loud, not dramatic, just a courier at the door. Signature required. I tore open the envelope at the kitchen counter, stamped. Pages spilled out. Temporary separation order financial. Restraining measures proposed parenting. Plan my hands. Shook. Primary custodial parent. Derek Walsh exchange location. Vera Walsh, maternal grandmother. Communication. Co-parenting app only. No. I whispered. Derek walked in, coffee in hand. You're filing for separation? I shouted. Over a few jokes? He sat down. Calm. It's not about the jokes, Mira. It's about the pattern. What pattern? I made a video. You posted your husband online for strangers to mock, he said. You brought another man into our lives. You picked up our daughter at 11 p.m. on school nights. You told your father I was weak. You called me boring in front of our child. He pulled out his notebook. Opened it. Page 42? He said. April 18th. Lena's video of the pub night. You told me to dance. When I refused, you said, you kill every vibe. Nora looked at you like you'd slapped her. My breath caught. You've been keeping a diary to use against me? I screamed. No, he said. I've been keeping the truth. He stood. I'll pick up Nora at 6. I blocked the door. You can't take her. The court already did, he said. Temporarily. But if things don't change, permanently, he walked out. I collapsed. Vera came that night to pick up Nora. She carried a folder. Meal logs, bedtime notes, routines. For stability, she said. I accused her of interfering. She looked at me, calm. I'm protecting my granddaughter. Nora hugged me, then took her hand. They walked away. I stood in the doorway. Hollow HR finalized their report. Jace was demoted. Final warning, I was reassigned. Ethics training. No more events. His texts stopped. Mine went unanswered. I was alone. The courthouse was cold. Beige walls. Buzzing lights. Echoing footsteps. I sat with my lawyer, clutching a thin folder of excuses. Derek stood across from me with his attorney and a binder so thick it looked like a weapon. The mediator asked us to speak. I went first. He's punishing me, I said. For a few videos. For being friends with a coworker. He's using our daughter as leverage. Derek spoke quietly. Nora needs stability, he said. She needs bedtime at 8. She needs to know her mother respects her father. She needs to grow up in a home where love isn't performance. He handed over evidence, doorbell camera footage, viral video sitter logs. 11 p.m. pickups, HR report texts with Jace my dad's voicemails, even Nora's drawings. The mediator flipped through them. These aren't isolated incidents, she said. This is a documented pattern of emotional neglect, public humiliation, and boundary violations, all witnessed by a child. My lawyer shifted, whispered. The documents speak louder than words. The judge ruled. Temporary custody to Derek during school weeks, all communication via co-parenting, app financial access, restricted mandatory co-parenting, classes boundaries counseling for Mira as we left. Derek handed me a sealed plastic bag. Inside, Jace's jacket, tagged, labeled, dated, like evidence. Now, I live in a half-empty condo. Nora's toys are gone. Her drawings packed. Her laughter replaced by silence. I scroll through the co-parenting app. Pickup confirmed. Bedtime, 8:15 p.m. Meal logged, grilled chicken. Broccoli. Mood, happy. Derek logs everything, because he doesn't need rage. He doesn't need shouting. He just needed proof. And he had it all along. One night, I found his notebook, left behind by accident. I opened it. Page after page, dates, quotes, observations, underlined at the end. I stayed quiet not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much to lose her to chaos. And below that, Nora asked why Mommy laughs but never looks happy. I didn't know how to answer. I closed the book, sat in the dark, and for the first time, I saw myself, not as the hero of my story, but as the villain of theirs. I tried to call Lena. She didn't answer. Harlan said, "Derek's vindictive. No real man drags quartz into family life." Claire finally spoke up. "You humiliated him in front of his child. Of course he fought back. I wanted to scream. But the truth was heavier. I hadn't been bold, hadn't been free. I'd been afraid of being ordinary, afraid of being forgotten, afraid that without attention, I was nothing. So I built a stage, and I made my husband the punchline. And my daughter? She watched it all. Now, every night I sit by the window, waiting for the app to chime. Drop-off confirmed. Nora hugged me. She asked about Mommy. I typed back, "Tell her I love her." But I know, love isn't just a word. It's showing up. It's respect. It's not laughing at the person who loves you. It's not trading dignity for likes. And it's definitely not thinking cruelty is charm. Derek didn't win because he fought. He won because he endured, because he protected, because while I was chasing applause, he was building a life where his daughter would feel safe. And in the end, that's the only power that matters. Keep Jace's jacket in a drawer. Sometimes I take it out, hold it, and remember the woman I was. The woman who thought laughter was love, who thought attention was worth more than loyalty, who thought a man's silence meant weakness. But silence isn't weak. Sometimes it's the loudest form of strength. And now, every time the app pings, I hear it, not with anger, but with regret, because I had a family, and I treated it like a joke. And the man I mocked, he was the only one who ever truly loved me. Friends, stories like Documented don't just happen. They come from the heart, from weeks of deep research, crafting every twist, every tear, and every lesson to make sure it hits you right here. Every single video? It takes hours upon hours to create. Days of research into real-life psychology, family law, and the raw pain of regret. Late nights writing, editing, and narrating so you feel every word. We pour our soul into this because you deserve content that changes you, that makes you think, feel, and grow. But here's the truth. Without you, we can't keep going. So if this story moved you, if Derek's quiet strength or Mira's wake-up call touched your soul, please hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the bell so you never miss a story. Smash that like and drop a comment below. From which city are you watching? Your support means amazing stories like this will keep coming, week after week, straight to your feed. Thank you for being part of our family. Until next time, stay kind, stay real,